southern part of France were the first to write medieval love poetry in which the problem of the feminine was the focal point. In the following centuries, writers in all the European countries began to write about the relationship between men and women. Some produced love lyrics, while many others wrote narrative fiction. These fictional narratives about knights, ladies, and love, romances. It is because love is so important in the romances that these intense and socially troubling form of love came to be called romantic love. In these love lyrics, which we may rightly call medieval love poetry, man humbles himself before a woman that he loves with an intense admiration. The man offers to become the lady's servant, to live only for her, if she will only recognize his feelings. There is no question of marriage, as often the lady is already married. Medieval love poetry essentially evolved from the romantic narratives like Tristan and Iseult, Lancelot and Guinevere, Aeneas and Dido, and Troilus and Cyricide. The case of Dante and Beatrice, Petrarch and Laura were unique in that these later examples of medieval love poetry form probably the most celebrated and influential medieval poets of the age, were real life experiences and not fictional, in spite of early skepticism leveled at Petrarch. Medieval love poetry reflected the birth of intense love of man and woman as a central subject in European literature. In tracing the genesis of the phenomena, the first troubadour on record was Guillaume, Count of Poitiers and Duke of Aquitaine, 1071 to 1127. He was the grandfather of Queen Eleanor, first of France, then of England, who along with her daughter Marie Countess of Champagne were the patrons of the Golden Age of fin amours, the term coined for courtly love. Around 1100, Guillaume and Aquitaine in southwestern France, who had hereafter written a number of poems that depicted his feminine conquest in a rather ribald manner, as could be expected of the rigorous soldier that he was, suddenly in a marked departure from his previous verses, wrote a new poem, Farà Chansonetta Nueva, which changed medieval love poetry forever. I shall make a new song before the wind blows and it freezes the rain. My lady, Madonna, is trying and testing me to find out how much I love her. Well, no matter what quarrel she makes, she will not lose me from her bond. Rather, I become her servant, surrender to her, so she can write my name in her contract. Now, don't go thinking I must be drunk if I love my good lady, for without her I cannot live. In another of his poems, almost all the themes that make up courtly love were evident. Already rejoicing I begin to love, for I am made better by one who is, beyond dispute, the man, the best a man ever saw or heard. By her joy a sick man can recover, by her wrath one well can die. A wise man turn to childishness, a fine man see his beauty change. The most courtly man become a churl, and any churl become courtly. These early examples of medieval love poetry exhibited the strong conflict and tension between joy and pain, private feelings and social roles. The woman's beauty has such power response is kind or cruel, positive or negative. This soon developed into an extended parody of the Christian religion's language about mercy and grace, and is an important characteristic of medieval love poetry, which reflected the role and influence of religion in medieval Europe. Religion in the mid-ages spiritualized the love concept into the higher form of charity, which could be distinguished from the more worldly sense of love, referred to as amor. The men and women of the Middle Ages, like people everywhere from the beginning of recorded history, were caught up by love in its many earthly forms and variations. Amor signified the love of things of this world, money, power, possessions. Other men and women, things which, however attractive and compelling, were by all natures fragile and short-lived. Despite these drawbacks, money and possessions were ardently pursued during the Middle Ages, and so, of course, was romantic love. When the pursuit of human love expressed itself in literature, it often appeared in the conventions associated almost exclusively and their imitators. Courtly love, or fin amoris, as the Provençal poets called it, was the expression of the nightly worship of a refining ideal embodied in the person of the beloved. Only a truly noble nature could generate and nurture such a love. Only a woman of magnanimity of spirit was a worthy object. The act of loving was in itself ennobling and refining, the means to the fullest expression of that was potentially fine and elevated in human nature. More than that, such a love expressed itself in terms that were feudal and religious. Thus, just as a vessel was expected to honor and serve his lord, so a lover was expected to serve his lady, to obey her commands, and to gratify her merest whims. I neither die nor live nor get well. I do not feel my suffering, and yet it is great suffering, because I cannot tell the future of her love, whether I shall have it or when. For in her all is pity, which can raise me up or make me fall. I am pleased when she maddens me, when she makes me stand with open mouth staring. I am pleased when she laughs at me, or makes a fool of me to my face or my back. For after this bad, the good will come, very quickly, if such is her pleasure. In good faith, without deceit, I love the best and most beautiful. My heart sighs and my eyes weep, because I love her so much and I suffer for it. What else can I do if love takes hold of me? And no key but pity can open up the prison where he has put me, and I find no sign of pity there. This love wounds my heart with a sweet taste so gently. I die of grief 100 times a day, and 100 times revive with joy. My pain seems beautiful. This pain is worth more than any pleasure. And since I find this bad so good, how good will be the good when this suffering is done?